With me now, syndicated columnist Ann Coulter, host of Kennedy on the Fox Business Network Kennedy, former Utah Congressman, Fox News contributor and author of the book The Deep State, How an Army of Bureaucrats Protected Barack Obama and is Working to Destroy the Trump Agenda, Jason Chaffetz. By the way, why didn't we mention Ann Coulter's book, Resistance is Futile? We need to do that.
I was wondering that.
And from exactly, there you go. We'll get to it later. From New York, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce. Tammy, I'm going to bring you in first, since you're all the way over there and we're sitting at the table. I just want to start any discussion on immigration with a really important point for me personally, which is that basically I am pro-immigration. My family fled communism in Hungary, some of them literally climbing over fences, as we've seen, as refugees from the communist invasion. And now I'm an immigrant here, twice over. So I'm pro-immigration, but it's got to be controlled if there's going to be consent for immigration. It's quite clear that immigration has been out of control, and these scenes that we're witnessing, it just totally emphasize that point about control. And I don't understand how anyone can look at those pictures and not be incredibly alarmed about what's going on.
Yeah, look, the lack of real policy here in the United States, the lack of controls, the effective, through the Obama administration, the effective open border has encouraged this now for half a generation. And you can see some of these pictures, the children, people huddling, the dangers involved. Effectively, it's an abusive process that exists because we had a system that thought that there was some political gain to be had by having these images, that they could be used politically. It's just like with the Kavanaugh situation. Other people's lives do not matter to the establishment. You see this framework. We've, of course, abandoned policies for Central and South America to deal with corrupt regimes where there's horrible dynamics that these people are fleeing. But the solution that Trump has come up with is a good one. That if you have this a safe nation that will accept refugee status for you, then you're not going to get it at the United States border. And that's important. If this was really about refugee framework, the international scene recognizes this as the very next safe country. And for these individuals, it's Mexico. It is not the United States. So at least there's a framework of a structure. The president's moving, and he was right in his tweet that they could solve some of this in an hour if the Democrats weren't obstructing. But like with DACA, they really don't care about these people. They want to show this chaos. They want to try to blame it on Trump, and it's not going to work this time.
Let's pick up, Jason, on that Mexico point. I think one of the things that's interesting about this is the seemingly the changed attitude of Mexico, the fact that we've had this new trade deal negotiated. The actions they're taking do seem to be more cooperative.
Well, we're about to find out, maybe or maybe not. You know, the United States of America legally and lawfully brings in about 1 million people a year, more than every other country combined. And this surge is one of the worst things that I've ever seen the Democrats encourage. It started with Barack Obama when he changed the parameters of asylum. He basically said, come here and we can change the way you can make this claim. And you started to see these people come and they are raped, they're pillaged, they're taken advantage of. It's human trafficking, and yet the Democrats, they seem to think that's okay. They should be saying, no, if you want to claim asylum and you want to do it the right way with the United States, then go to the local embassy in Honduras or Guatemala. And safe third country, which we have, as a country, is supported for decades, means you go to the next country and stay there. Don't leapfrog to try to get to the United States.
It's, you're right. I mean, the Democrats hate it when you say, oh, you're for open borders. They know we're not for open borders. But here's an opportunity for them to show that by actually saying this is totally unacceptable. And I haven't seen a single Democrat speak up against it. And speaking of which, I just want to play a clip today from L.A. Mayor Eric Garcetti, which just because it's an argument he put out there that I think is it reveals something about how the Democrats see this. Let's just watch.
Fundamentally, what this administration doesn't get, like so many of its plans, they know what they're against, they don't know how to solve the problem. Investing, for instance, in stabilizing the economies of the countries in Central America is a great way to cut off the supply. They think a wall will keep people out when they don't go to the root of the problem.
So that is so exactly wrong. I just wanted to call it out and just explain to our audience. Of course, it's true that the root problem is the fact that you've got these failed states failing even more. But the idea that investing, which is code for giving them more money, is going to solve the problem is so ridiculous. It is about encouraging them to get richer in a sustainable way. And that means the institutions of a market economy and a free society, property rights, the rule of law, an independent judiciary, all the things that are the basis for countries to grow and get richer and be stable, not just handing them over money. And then he says it's not about the wall, which brings me to you, Ann Coulter, because there's nothing in that it just totally captures this sort of attitude that, like, well, we have to say anything at all as long as we can get to a point of saying we're against the wall.
Yes, and we have to keep admitting everyone who runs across the border. I've heard a lot of Democrats say that, well, first we just have to solve all these other countries' problems. No, that's precisely why we don't want these countries coming here. And, I mean, to compare it to your relatives escaping communist Hungary, we don't have a Holocaust going on right now. We don't have a Soviet Union. There is not a potato famine. In each one of those cases, you're talking about some unusual circumstance. It wasn't like how the Irish always lived. We're always starving to death. No, there was a potato famine because the potato crop died. You were subject to communism. Adolf Hitler rose up. This is how these people live all the time. We're not going to correct thousands of years of culture. I mean, yes, we wish them luck. We want to help them. But to say that we have to change cultures that have been around for 1,000 years, and they've always been heavily corrupt, heavily poor, it's not going to happen. You may as well say, first we have to colonize Mars, and then you can build a wall.
I mean, I would say that it's to be honest, I'd say it's less a cultural thing. It's the institutional thing. Like I was saying, they don't have the institutional framework to support the kind of...
That could well be, but it's been 1,000 years. We're not going to... America isn't going to solve that.
Well, that's certainly true. Kennedy, what's your take?
I agree with that, and I think there's a lot of pressure for this direct investment, which is futile. And the thing that really pulls people out of poverty, and in countries like that, there is more extreme poverty, certainly, than there is in Mexico and the United States, is free trade and actually opening up markets and, you know, not investing in, but capitalizing on the natural resources that they have in addition to the labor that they've got. Part of the problem you have here is, and, you know, this goes back to some of your former colleagues, is we have so many discrepancies in immigration, and it is so confusing. And legal immigration it's really laughable, and it's incredibly difficult. And so that has created this impasse that Republicans and Democrats love because they don't want to work together on immigration. Republicans and Democrats love these pictures because they rile up the completely torn apart bases on each side. And if you had less chaos, and if you had more rule of law, and people knew exactly how they could get into this country and had more incentive to go back when they were done working seasonally, it would be much better for businesses and individuals and families who are being torn apart, and that means that ICE agents can't go after bad people getting in this country because they're essentially having to look after these overrun detention centers.
I think that's exactly right. It's what we were talking about with Tammy at the beginning. It's this order and control, which is totally absent. Look, we're running out of time now, but we're going to come back to it a bit later on. In particular, I'm interested in this bill that I keep hearing about, this Kevin McCarthy bill. Is it any good? Will it ever happen? We can get to that later on.